Also, I got a lot of people asking me like, are you a record company? Do you sign people? Do you make records? The records thing I think was throwing a lot of people off. And so I was like, all right, I'm at that point. And this is when I was getting ready to move out of my parents' basement with the business and move into like my first commercial facility. And I was like, this is a good time to make a name change.
You're listening to For the Record, conversations about music, mixing, and the creative industry. Our guest today is Justin LeBreck. Justin founded and runs Waysound Recording in Fox River Grove.
Justin, hello.
Jeremiah, hello.
How have you been?
I've been okay. I've been a little tired lately, so the coffee is much appreciated.
Oh, yes. Cheers. Absolutely.
We just moved our house, so it's been crazy last couple weeks getting all moved in and stuff. So
Yep, that's
burning the candle from both ends.
Oh, I'm sure. So I met you maybe, I don't know, it was probably like 4 years ago or something. Which makes it sound like we know each other really well. We really don't.
We totally do.
Yeah, I've met you like twice. But I'd love for you to kind of talk a little bit about who you are and what your shtick is, what you do.
What makes me tick?
Yeah.
Great. So first of all, thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, absolutely.
Your studio is fantastic. I'm actually kind of a little bit jealous. Your furnishings and the acoustic treatments and stuff are really top notch. So,
Well, thank you. Thank you.
I feel very comfortable being here.
That's the goal.
So the studio that I run is called Waysound Recording Studios, and I started Waysound in my basement, like probably most people do. I think I was like a freshman or sophomore in high school when I started actually like pursuing recording. And of course, just like anybody else, it starts off as just like something fun to do. I do music. I write music and stuff of my own. I play piano and I sing a little bit of guitar. And so I started off just doing my own music and then eventually turned into recording friends and then friends of friends and then kind of turn into like, well, this is like a business, and started actually charging money for it. And so decided to go away to school and got a degree in audio engineering. And after graduating, came home, decided I needed to either make a decision whether this degree, what I wanted to get a job, working for someone else, or this thing that I had been cultivating and growing in high school and in college was something that I wanted to continue to grow.
Yeah, that's a tough call.
Yeah, because obviously it's way easier just to join somebody else and have a constant paycheck coming in and building a business, as you know, is really hard. So I just kind of kept growing it while also working for someone else. Because that's the safe thing to do, right? It's really hard to just jump full force into it without having some sort of stability. And so I had a full-time job that I worked, and while I continued to grow the company, and I finally got to the point where it sounds like you just got to that point where you're ready to jump in full-time into the business. And for me, that happened 2013. When I made the plunge into running the business full time. And it was scary, but at the same time, like totally fulfilling, because that's what like gives me energy, is like just pouring your heart and soul into the business. And to know that you're at that point where you can do that is really exciting. So I'm glad that I did it. And I'm knock on wood, still around today, and the business is still growing, and I've got a part-timer, almost full-timer working for me right now. I've got interns that are in as well, and then obviously myself, and the business is growing, and hopefully it'll continue to grow and we'll be able to take on more projects.
Yeah.
I'd love to move into a different space. The space we're in right now is pretty small, so that's sort of my next goal, is to try to find a larger space. That way we can accommodate more people and more projects and stuff. That's sort of the thing that's holding me back right now.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. So where did you come up with the name Waysound Recording? I'm curious.
So actually, in high school, it started off as a different name.
Okay.
So when I started my company, it was under the name of JPL Records. And
I'm
that's
guessing your middle name
my
starts with a
initials,
P.
exactly. But also Jet Propulsion Laboratories. So if you do Google search for JPL, 9 million times out of 10, you're going to find Jet Propulsion Laboratory and not JPL Records. So
Yeah.
I kind of saw that as like, I had to make a decision whether I wanted to like continue to compete with that.
Right.
And also, I got a lot of people asking me like, "Are you a record company? Do you sign people? Do you make records?" The records thing I think was throwing a lot of people off. And so I was like, "All right, I'm at that point." And this is when I was getting ready to move out of my parents' basement with the business and move into like my first commercial facility. And I was like, "This is a good time to make a name change."
Yeah.
So I wanted to choose something that still felt very personal to me. And growing up, I was kind of like a class clown, and I loved just like comedy and silly things. So I read this book, Sideways Stories, from Wayside School.
Okay.
Probably botched the title. It's been a while since I read it, but Wayside was the school that this like comedy book from like elementary school was about, and I loved that book, and I felt like that kind of summed up who I was as a person growing up. So I took Wayside, and I added the sound into it because I wanted people to, when they hear the name, to understand like a little bit of what I did, and then obviously changed it, instead of records, changed it to studios. Actually, sorry, I changed it to recording.
Right.
Because again, I wanted people to understand what we did. And even now I'm like, I do a lot of video work too. So I'm like, well, now it sounds like I only do audio. So I'm sure it's something that I'll have to like deal with for a long time. But that's essentially when I kind of picked and choose the name.
I understand what that's like. Like right now we're doing wedding videography as one of the things that we do, which works because we do studio recording, but we also are like a team of videographers. But it's kind of confusing to a lot of people being like, Caffeinated Records does wedding videography.
Right.
It's and I've thought about it, and maybe at some point we'll kind of do a side thing and change so it makes more sense. But right now I'm like,
there's nothing wrong with having like Caffeinated Records being like the company name, and then having like little offshoot.
Like subsidiaries or something like that. Yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
And that's a great idea.
Right. But that's like that's a future me problem.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Don't worry about that now.
Right. So in high school is when you kind of started tinkering with recording. Have you been a musician, I'm assuming, for most of your life?
Yeah, I started playing piano when I was real young. I started taking piano lessons when I was 6. And I'd asked for like randomly for Christmas one year, probably was 4 or 5, asked for a keyboard, like a electric keyboard. And my parents were like, "Well, you don't play piano," but I saw it in a magazine. I was like, "I want that." Right. And so they were like, "All right." So they got me the keyboard, and I like played it a lot, and they saw that I was really interested in it. And so they signed me up for piano lessons, and kind of took off from there.
Yeah.
I can remember in first grade, they draw a picture of like what you want to do for a living when you grow up, and I wanted to play piano for a living.
Yeah.
And for the most part, I do. I work with a lot of independent artists where, me playing piano is part of the services that I offer at the studio and helping them write and record music.
Right.
I'm part of the band Modern Day Romeos. And
Are you really?
Yeah. So I'm the piano player for the band, and that's, essentially I'm making a living playing piano. I've been with them for 4, almost 5 years now, and
Oh, nice.
big part of my life is going around and playing music in front of other people, and so I like that I held up my my hopes and dreams from first grade of being able to play music and do music. For
Yeah.
a living.
So like zooming in on that process when you went from I play piano to I want to record myself playing piano, like what was kind of the steps that you went through in that got you there, and trial and error in the process? Because I remember for me, like at first I was this guitar player and I wanted to do something with music, but I was like, I don't know what that could be. And then when I thought about recording, I was like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. So it was just a lot of like kind of stumbling around trying to find something that I loved.
Yeah. I mean, my first recording set, I would write music, so I would play piano and make up songs and stuff. So, I mean, that's essentially the first part where I was like enjoying the process of making music. And then the next step after making music is to be able to like record it somehow. So, I mean, I would find like a tape player and record off that, or just like a computer, like the audio input jack on the back of a desktop computer, and have like the microphone that comes with the computer or something like that, and plug it in, and would just record that way. And just like the most basic that you could ever be with recording. And that's like was my introduction into it. And I just really enjoyed that process. So then I just kind of progressively was like, all right, well, maybe I need like a better audio card. So I got a better audio card, and this one you just allowed you to do different things, and I need software to like edit with, and it just kind of built from there. And like the more I got into it, the more excited I got, because I had more control over it, and like the end product sounded better, and so yeah.
I remember the first time I tried to record something with vocals, I was like perplexed because it sounded like a karaoke song, right? Like I had this mixed piece, and then it just sounded like vocals were like clearly like there's no way they were in the same room for this.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know how to fix that. And I didn't know what to like search or learn to like figure it out. But I think my first software I ever like started working with was Audacity, You gotta start at the basics.
Totally. And is it Audacity is the one it's the free software, and it's like it's made by like professors of like audio. It's like an open source thing.
It is open source.
So I think I could be wrong, but I thought that software was started by like scientists, basically, like who were like audio professors who created it, and then it's open source, so you can use it and probably manipulate it and stuff to work on your own. But
Interesting.
they still like I do a lot of like voiceover, working with a lot of schools doing voiceover, and they still recommend using that software because it's essentially it's easy to use, which to me like it's like hard because it's like totally not I don't know, like the user interface is not as like easy as some other software, but you can do a lot with that software. You can do things in that software that I can't do in my software, which I'm using Sonar, which is like they don't even make that anymore. It's like
Hey, if it works.
I just got super comfortable with it. But even like Pro Tools, certain things that I need to be able to do that I have to use Audacity for, because that's like the only software that can do it.
Really? What kind of stuff?
So for doing like on hold like phone messaging systems, exporting in a certain format that works well with like phone systems.
Really?
I literally like Audacity is the only one that can do it in that certain like compression formats that they need it in. And I'm like, how is this not like on the internet of people like, oh, do this to make this happen?
It's so interesting. So I had a situation, this is a video issue, but I was trying to export a video for a client. I was trying to import the video and basically trim some pieces out and re-export it, but I couldn't import it into Premiere because something was corrupted about the file format. It was my first project working with this client, and they were like a bigger client, so I was like, I don't want to seem like I don't know what I'm doing. I spent like an hours trying to figure it out, and the only software that worked that could read the format and convert it was iMovie.
Of course.
like I tried Adobe Media Encoder. I tried all of these ridiculous things, and then I dropped it in iMovie, and it read it, and I exported it, and I was like, that worked. That was the thing.
It's whatever. I mean, whatever works. There's no right or wrong way to do things. They always say that like audio and video, it's an art form, and it's totally true. It's whatever works for you, and whatever it's a tool to get the job done. And sometimes the right tool is the free software that you download from the internet or that comes with your computer.
Yep. Oh man. So you said you went to college for audio engineering, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm curious because I've had this conversation with a lot of different people, and I'd be curious to hear your take on it. So I didn't go off to college for audio engineering. I hear a lot of people that didn't, and I also have talked to a lot of people that did. And I feel like there's kind of been a debate on like if this is a field that like
Sure.
you should go to college for.
Sure.
Are you glad that you went? Do you feel like it's worthwhile? Do you feel like it was worth the investment you put in? If there was anyone listening right now who is on that fence, like what would you recommend to them?
That's tough.
That was a loaded question.
It is tough because I'm pro school and I'm pro learning and developing an interest that you have. I'm better off because I went to school. Graduating from school, I got a really good job that helped to support my business and my interests. And that job was actually doing stuff that I went to school for. So I don't think I would have been able to get that job with no formal, post secondary education. So I think it's valuable to go to school. This field, it's tough because, I know as like a business owner, recording studio owner, like college isn't the only thing that I look at. As a matter of fact, it's there's other things that I look for first before college, because to me, if you have the education but don't have the skill set or like the chutzpah, people who go to school but like just kind of just go to classes and don't really do a whole lot of like practicing their trade outside of it.
Yeah. Like passion.
Yeah, that don't have the passion for it. It makes a difference. People who are just so interested and passionate about what you're studying will spend a lot of time outside of school doing the thing that they're going to school for. And because of that, they get to the degree, but they're so much more advanced, and their skill set is so much more refined than somebody who wouldn't have practiced as much. So so when I ask for examples of work they've done and kind of just like proving their skill set and their ear and their ability to mix and record and problem solve in the studio environment is really hard to teach. It's more like experience. And I'm not looking for like, show me experience of you working for other recording studios and stuff. It's more just like, show me what you've worked on in school or outside of school. I just want to hear examples of stuff you worked on. And and if that shows that they know what they're doing and they have a degree, I'm going to choose that person over somebody who shows they know what they're doing and doesn't have a degree. Because there's other things that come with the degree that I think help make the person more well-rounded.
Sure.
But it's definitely not. That is not the reason why I would hire someone. So I don't feel like I got as much from my education. I started this like in high school. I was like really passionate about it. So going to school was nice, and I certainly learned a lot. But what I'm doing currently right now is not a result purely of like having gone to college.
Yeah.
So I think your passion plays a bigger role.
That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, in the college classes that I took when I was in high school, because I was a homeschooler, you can do that. But like I took a Spanish class, and I learned at the beginning, everyone, there was a mix of people that were in the class, the people that needed it to take the class because it was in the required classes. But then as I went to the later semesters in the program, it was like, okay, the people that are in this class are the people that are actually interested in learning Spanish. And so you could see like we learned more and grew more together because everyone was actually passionate about it.
Totally.
And trying to learn it. And I think I like what you said about passion speaks above just like the knowledge.
A piece of paper that says you know what you're doing.
Yeah, because I think in the creative world, inherently passion is required, right? Like it's hard to explain what's different between these two pieces if you're just listening to it off the bat. But if you knew that one was just like this intellectual based piece and one had like passion infused in it, you just connect with that more.
Totally. It is not, there's no right or wrong way to mix a song. So it's hard to teach that in school. Ultimately, you have to figure out how your brain works and how it makes sense to mix stuff. So school can give you the tools and give you the resources and options of like, here's what the fundamentals of why certain frequencies react with the space, or when you're mixing, when you're trying to figure out how to blend everything.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's like you have to like practice it. And if you're not, then you're going to have a tough time trying to do your own stuff or trying to get a job working for someone else.
Yeah. All right. So talking about the studio then, and some of the projects that you've done, I'm curious, what's the most interesting or one of the most interesting projects or people that you've worked with, like stories that you have in your time recording people?
I mean, the most interesting ones are usually the ones that are just like totally not the common clientele, or, the project like content is just like off the wall. I can think of like 3 in particular that like jump to my mind of like, this is very different.
Yeah.
I worked with a corporate client doing a video project. It was a mixture of a video and audio project where
Those are the
we are recording a song, and the song in the studio is it's a cover song, but they like changed the words to kind of fit their message of what they wanted.
So it's like a parody kind of thing?
Yes. And the song is about washing your hands. And the video piece of it is going around and so this is for a hospital. So they wanted to just kind of PSA, everybody needs to wash their hands more.
Right.
So the video side of it was going to the hospital with a person dressed up in an owl costume, because that was their mascot, and going around with like the nurses and doctors and surgeons and doing like a music video like to this song where they're like all like dancing and like and singing and stuff to it, and just such a interesting end product because like here all these people who do very serious work and
they're all mutually committed to this project.
Totally. And
that's amazing.
Yeah, just the situations we had plotted out of what this like owl is going to be doing, brought in like a stretcher and like in a room and doctors coming in, and it was just a very like every part of that project was fun to do because it was so different and just made me smile.
You ever have one of those moments like in the day you're shooting where you're like, how did I get here?
Yeah. That happens actually quite a lot.
Oh man.
Yes. And like the audio side, I would say actually one of the current clients I'm working with right now on the audio side is there are 2 professors, teachers at a college.
Okay.
One is a math-based professor. The other one's a science-based, I think.
Okay.
Based on their songs. Their songs are all original, but they're all have to do with like the subject matter that they're teaching.
Yeah.
And one would say like they're kind of corny, but like they're really good songs, and they're very like well thought out lyrics that are like marrying the subject matter and going into like, they have a song about like baby you got my number, and it's kind of like a song about like you got my number, call me baby, but it's all about like these math equations built into it.
That's amazing.
And it gets stuck in your head, and it's a really good song.
Please send that to me when it's done.
Yes. So we're working on that right now, and it's a lot of fun. And that's another one where they come in and they write the music, they sing and play guitar and bass, and then I help them flush out adding drums to it, and we'll edit and mix and master the final piece. And it's been a lot of fun. But again, it's like so different because it's not like the typical subject matter that you're typically recording in a studio. So
yeah. That's amazing. So how about what's something that you had to learn, and maybe you learned this like when you were recording in high school or recording for other people. What's something you had to learn with like working with either inexperienced musicians or people that just didn't seem to take the project seriously, or like the rates you were charging, like something like that. Sure. Just taught you on the business side of running a studio?
I mean, people that don't take it seriously, those are probably my least favorite sessions. Because I take my job very seriously. And not every session is like very important. Sometimes people are doing it just for fun. And that's not what I mean by not taking it seriously. Because a lot of people will do it just because they get enjoyment from it, and that's awesome.
Two professors writing songs on the side, it's probably not like they're hoping to make that their main gig,
No, but it's they're really into it, and it brings them joy, and that's awesome. I love that. It's usually working with customers that are doing it just to like show off, or like doing it like not for the right reasons, that are they're doing it to show off to their friends that they're in the recording studio recording. And they're they show up late, they're just not prepared. And it clearly is just like hey, let's go hang out in the studio and record, and my friends can see how cool I am being in the studio. And like, those are the ones where I'm like watching the clock. One of those sessions could be over, because that's, they're not clearly laying down anything that is, amazing, and just having to deal with a lot of people in the studio, and those are probably the least favorite ones. And then those are the ones where I'm like, I am not charging enough for these sessions, so that makes me kind of reconsider rates and stuff. But most cases, everybody I work with is they're doing it because they love to do it, and that's great, because that's why I'm there. I do it because I love to do it.
Yeah. Man, it's really interesting how, like, I think I've said this before, but like how fragile the creative mind can be on either side. You know what I mean? Like, I've learned from the producer's chair, like speaking to people who are, maybe aren't the best musicians, or maybe they're just having an off day, and like learning how to kind of coach them and come alongside them, so it doesn't seem like I'm just upset that they can't get this part down, and instead say like, hey, like let's like just work on this little part again. This is sounding really good. What if we try this?
Right.
Because if they get in the spot where they're in their head, like that messes the creative process. And it's kind of the same the other way around too, right? Like if I'm sitting in this chair and I'm working with this musician who's clearly just not into it for whatever reason, even though they're paying to be here, they don't seem to care that much. Like that's going to affect me being like you said, like I'm just watching the clock. When is this going to be over? And naturally, that's going to affect how well you're going to be able to bring something to the table too. It's just really interesting how like this world of creativity is so delicate.
Yes, I 100% agree. If you're not putting forth the passion, the energy, it's hard for me to put that forth. That's kind of a two-way street, so it kind of feeds off each other.
Yeah, collaboration's so fun. So tell me, future plans, the future of Waysound. If you like realistic, close dreams, but then also big picture, I'd love to do this. What are those things?
Yeah, I would love in the near term, as I said, the space we're in right now is small, which has been a great stepping stone for, being in a basement to being, in my first commercial space. So I'm grateful for it, but to do more projects, to have a better facility for, music projects, having more space to be able to like work with video stuff. I would love to be in a larger facility. And that'll help with all of those reasons. Plus, being able to bring more people on to help with that. So having more audio engineers, having more video people to help grow the business is necessary. And then ultimately be able to do multiple sessions at a time. Right now, we can only really do one at a time. And as we get busier, it's harder to schedule because we only have one space. So being able to offer the ability to do a couple sessions at a time would be amazing. So, I mean, that's ultimately, hopefully, a shorter term thing, but it's also a long term thing because I want to try and, especially with the pandemic right now, I want to be smart about how I take big risks with the business because ultimately I can continue to do what I'm doing where I'm at, but I would love to be somewhere else as soon as I can, but without having to also take such a big risk.
Right. Yeah. Risk is, I get
calculated risk.
Calculated risk.
That's where the calculation part comes in, is like
right.
knowing when to make the leap or the change and knowing when not to.
Yeah. That would be cool though, having a space big enough that you have like multiple different sessions going on.
Yeah.
Do you think, because I felt this, I feel like as Caffeinated Records grows and as we get bigger, I won't be able to do as much hands-on stuff, like actually doing recording and running sessions and mixing stuff, because I'll be trying to manage the growth of it.
Oh, yeah.
Is that something that you would foresee being in your, like, as your business grows? And if that's the case, like, is that what you want?
It's tough because I enjoy building Legos. I enjoy like creating things, and that's why I got in this industry, is like creating music. So I enjoy creating the business and cultivating that, and so I enjoy that aspect of it. But I think when things get really busy and I'm doing more of that and less of like the creative music and video recording and editing side of things, I tend to feel...
I think that's your alarm.
Yeah, I gotta take off.
He's gonna leave soon.
I tend to feel a little bit more burnt out through that than I do when I'm really busy on the creative side.
Yeah.
So that kind of tells me that I think I need help on like the business side. I need to kind of let go of some of that management stuff.
Yeah.
So that I can focus on more of what gives me energy and gives me, makes me happy ultimately.
Yeah. It's hard to do both. That's something I've learned is thinking big picture and practical things, and then hanging that code up to like think creatively and then jumping back. It's tough, but I think as your business continues to grow and as you have needs for greater people, figuring out what like your like strongest point is and like just living in that lane and like bringing other people in for the spaces around it.
Totally.
That's a really wise move.
Yeah.
And I think your business will just be successful from that.
Yes. No, I agree 100%.
Yeah. Well, as your phone said, you have to go. But thank you for coming on and talking. I've enjoyed this. It's been fun.
Thank you. I appreciate it immensely. This is really neat to come out and check out your space. I brought with a giant T-shirt because that's all I have is giant sizes left. I need to get some bigger or more types of swag printed up, but
right.
This is a giant T-shirt that I'm going to leave with you. That
well, thank you.
He can grow into it.
Yeah, you'll
I'll
grow into
into
it.
it.
Exactly. So when I get more made up here in the near future, then I'll be sure to drop off something you can actually wear.
Dude,
So.
no, thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Well, until next time, this is For the Record, and see you later.
Bye.